In the silence of a city that was once only desert and sea, where the stars leaned closer as if they wanted to listen, there was born a voice that carried not only words, but whole worlds within verses. They called him Fazza, not because he chased fame, but because he ran toward love and courage, because he lifted the spirit of people the way falcons lift the winds, because his poetry was not written with ink, but with the blood of longing and the breath of eternity. Every dawn he rode into, the desert recognized his shadow, the dunes whispered his name, and the camels turned their heads, as though an old friend had returned. He was not just a prince among palaces of glass and towers of light. He was a rider of moments, a hunter of beauty, a guardian of silence. And his poems were like desert roses, rare, stubborn, and blooming in impossible soil. He wrote of love not as a fragile flower, but as a falcon with talons sharp enough to wound, yet wings wide enough to carry two souls to heaven. He wrote of loss as if the sea itself had abandoned its waves, and he wrote of joy as though a stallion had broken free from the reins of the world. When he loved as if the sky had no ceiling, and when he mourned as if eternity itself could weep. The evenings in Dubai knew his footsteps. Along the marina where water kissed the glass towers, he would walk quietly, his heart carrying a storm that no one could see. Crowds would recognize his smile, but few could read the poems hidden behind his eyes. For inside him lived a wanderer, a Bedouin soul in a modern world, longing for the old campfires, the nights when the tribe gathered under the stars, the songs of elders that smelled of smoke and sand. Yet he was also a man of this age, the rider of swift cars, the master of stallions whose manes danced like fire. He loved engines the way he loved horses, because both carried him into freedom. Both roared with untamed power, both knew how to obey, but also how to defy. In the gallop of a horse, and in the growl of a car, he found the same heartbeat, the same music of speed. But above all, it was poetry that never betrayed him. When the world was silent, his pen spoke. When the crowd was loud, his heart whispered into the page. Every word he released was a bird taking flight, every verse a thread weaving his soul to the souls of his people. His poetry was not about him alone. It was a mirror for anyone who ever loved, for anyone who ever lost, for anyone who ever stood on the edge of the desert and asked the horizon a question. The desert knew him best. At dusk he would ride alone, the sun pouring gold upon the dunes, his stallion's hooves breaking the silence with the rhythm of eternity. Sometimes he would stop, dismount, and press his hand into the sand, as if listening to the heartbeat of the earth. In that quiet he would hear the voices of ancestors, warriors, poets, dreamers. Under the wide sky where twilight paints the heavens in soft shades of rose and gold, where the breeze carries both whispers of the sea and secrets of the desert, the voice of Fazza rises, not merely as a poet, but as a soul carved out of longing, courage, and infinite love. He writes as though every heartbeat is a stanza, as though every breath is meant to leave behind trails of words that echo across dunes and towers alike. His poetry is not confined to ink. It breathes in falcons' wings, in horses' gallops, in the silent gazes of the stars that watch over his land. Tonight, the world slows down, for the desert calls, and in that silence he pours his heart into verse. The desert itself bends closer when Fazza speaks, its sands trembling with the rhythm of his voice. His words wander like caravans through the emptiness, carrying treasures of hope, fragments of sorrow, jewels of love. He speaks of a horizon where the sun bows slowly, kissing the dunes goodbye, leaving behind rivers of fire across the sky. In that moment, the prince is not a ruler, not a falconer, not a horseman. He is a lover yearning for something eternal, something unseen, something his heart knows but his eyes cannot yet find. Every poem he writes is woven with memory. He remembers how the falcon takes flight with trust in his eyes, soaring above skyscrapers as if even human-made wonders cannot limit its freedom. That falcon is his symbol, his companion, his metaphor, because in its wings he sees himself, a prince who carries the weight of expectation, yet longs for skies without borders, a heart tied to duty, yet wild enough to dream beyond crowns. The falcon leaves and returns, and in this circle of departure and homecoming, Fazza writes about loyalty, about love that wanders but never strays. In the folds of his poetry, you hear the laughter of horses, their hooves striking the earth like drums of eternity, galloping not just across sand but across his veins. Horses are more than animals to him. They are brothers in silence, reflections of strength, symbols of grace. When he mounts one under the moonlight, racing against the desert winds, the world dissolves into pure rhythm, pure freedom. He writes of this, how love too should be a gallop, fearless, tireless, unshackled, carrying both pain and joy with the same beauty. But love in Fazza's heart is not without ache. His poetry sometimes becomes a prayer whispered into the night. He speaks to the unseen beloved, someone who exists both in reality and in dream. He wonders if she can hear him when he writes about stars that burn brighter because of her imagined presence. He wonders if she feels the echo when he writes of longing heavy as dunes, of silence deep as the sea, of hope fragile as the crescent moon. His poems are filled with the ache of waiting, the sweetness of imagining, the courage of believing in a love destined by the divine. The city around him is alive with glass and steel,